Okay, we will call the meeting to order. If we could have a roll call, please.
Yes, Trustee Giroux,
Yes, I'm here.
Trustee St. Germain, Trustee Herbst,
Present.
Trustee Pomponio, Trustee Robinson.
Here. We could still stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could get a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any changes or updates? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is Chris St. Germain on? Okay. Motion approved. Next is public input. Is there any requests for public input tonight?
No, I have none.
Okay. And next is consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Reports and recognitions.
Yeah, so the appreciation, I just changed that to where it'd be a little bit more general, but I know with our leadership team, we talked last week, we had a meeting and we're still short on subs. We're in about every area. So there's people stepping up from all directions, filling in. So we want to appreciate everybody that's stepping in and helping us out there to get by. So that's kind of a general appreciation for our entire district and community for helping.
There are no committee reports this month. There have been building reports submitted. Did anybody have any questions for the administration regarding the building reports?
How's homecoming going, Brian? I just was wondering since it's homecoming.
Yeah, homecoming's going well so far. Our students are doing a great job of leading the activities along with their class advisors. Normally we would do a homecoming dance, but we're deciding not to do that in the cafeteria. In fact, not a lot of kids typically, once we start doing the fires out in the parking lot. So we communicate with the chief and we're able to do the fires. So not a lot of kids went in anyway. They just liked hanging out by the fire. So we're gonna do it outdoors and start at 8 o'clock after our football games and crowning the king, queen, prince, princess, and all that other fun stuff. So yeah, they've got fun dress up days every day and you'll probably be able to see some of those fun activities on Facebook. We're trying to post as we go as those things happen. So yeah, it's going well.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, we'll move on to program reports. We also have multiple reports that were submitted.
I guess I have a question for Carmen on the food service on the shortages. Can you kind of give us a little overview of how that's affecting everything?
We are seeing major supply chain issues that's hitting our area and our as well. Even USDA is canceling truckloads of product. Some of the big main manufacturers like Tyson, Riches, those, they don't have enough employees. They can't get enough product. They can't get enough equipment to keep things running. So they're having to shut down certain lines to keep their companies moving. And so all of that trickles down the line to us. Our price increases are going up as well. Some things now, our lead time used to be a week out. Now we're waiting 3 weeks, 6 weeks for product to come in. So we're having to try to order ahead on things we know is going to be shorted and try to get those orders in so we can have them when they come on the menu. If not, and then we're having to do substitutions. So because of all the substitutions, we don't know. Daily we get an email from somebody. Sometimes our truck comes in and that's when we know we didn't get product. Sometimes we don't even have a heads up that it's not going to be on the truck. So we've done pretty good so far. I did have some stuff already in storage, canned goods and things that we have to, fall back on. But there will be quite a few substitutions this year. We did get waivers from the State Department that comes from the federal side to where if for some reason we can't get the milk we need or the whole grain product, we have to sub something else in, that they will not withhold reimbursements from the district. So.
Wow.
Thank you.
You were asking if we had a report from Mindy. She's doing this part down below on the testing. Yep.
And it looks like Transportation Department has skated by with having enough bus drivers so far.
Oh, how many bus drivers are we still down? So this is a good thing. Good job.
Okay, Superintendent report.
So you want me to go through it, or do you have questions? So we did have our grant meeting last, it was the 5th and 6th, I guess it was that last week? But anyway, we had 2 nights. We had one at OJSHS and we had one at Timberline Schools. Fairly small turnout, but good questions, good input. We went through and we have packets that we developed that have all the grants and all of their uses that we can use them for and the amounts that they were, and then some of them that we actually have used and then others that we have not. So we solicited some input on how we can utilize those. So until we get our audit back, we don't know exactly where we're at for this year. So some of that money that's discretionary money may have to go towards filling in some of the gaps in our regular budget as well, just some of the shortfalls. So this evaluation process, and I'll go through some of this rezoning stuff that's in here when we get to that item. But we went ahead and we were talking about some of the teacher evaluations is something that we've, from last year's negotiations for this year. So we've had a committee that's met on that, and the principals have pretty much unified what they're doing across the district. They've kept a little bit of their own individualism in each building just to reach their own, do their own forums and kind of to their own taste. But overall, we're doing a very consistent evaluation on our certified staff this year. And that's something that was a pretty big step for us. And I think the union and the teachers are appreciative of that. One of the next things that we're looking at is, there's the distinguished and how do you obtain that level and how does that look? And I know you guys have been involved with that. What we're utilizing is the Danielson model, and it has that pretty well defined. So there's some examples there. And We'll explore that a little further, but there's always been a concern that we're leaving some money on the table if we're not getting our teachers to that distinguished level because there is some incentive. But overall, we've decided as a group, and I think it's probably the right thing, is we're not going to put somebody there just so we can get that money. They have to earn it, and it has to be deserved. And then of course we'll recognize that. So that is a piece of it. We met last week. We're still doing our goal setting. One of the things as a leadership team, one of the things we've looked at is revisiting our vision and mission statement. And you guys will be involved with that, obviously, as a board. And after the first year, as we get into officers and reorganization and those type of things. So we're starting with that. We're going to go from the grassroots. Basically, we're going to look at, we're trying to figure out how we're going to get that information from our employees, from our students, and from our community on what those goals and that mission should look like, the mission and vision. So that process is just in the very infant stage, but it hasn't been revisited for a while. And I think, with times changing, it's time to revisit that and get everybody on board and see where we can go. So another piece we're looking at on district day, going back to that, the evaluation piece, is we're going to do some professional development, offer that for our teachers and for our staff to see what it takes, especially for our certified, to see what it takes to get to that distinguished area. So we're going to be revisiting that Danielson model again. And then we also have a guest speaker coming in, a motivational speaker. I think will be good timing for that. So district day is coming up in December. I look for everybody to be there. I think it should be good. Questions on any of that? Nope, good.
Okay, then we'll roll into discussion items. Did you have anything that needed to be added or discussed about the board meeting calendar?
I did not. You asked me to leave that on there last time, and that's for you guys to review and see where we're at. So one of the main things we were looking at this time is the testing, and that's where Mindy will be up here in just a second. The certified evaluation process, just what we were talking about. I know some of you guys, I think, Greg, you were involved in that committee. If you have anything to add, this is a good time for that.
Well, yes, I've been involved in that committee, and we had a really great meeting. I believe it was on the 15th. So yeah, Timberline. And one of the goals for the committee for this particular time until October 28th was to have all components for the evaluation process determined by the end of first quarter. So we basically did that in one meeting. And it's because, well, Bicker ran it, and you don't argue with that guy. He's kind of big. But also we had some great preparation on Brian's part and on Jason's part. And I thought it was a great meeting. There's been, the forms are standardized for all the schools now, right? And then everyone can kind of do this evaluation on the teachers, which I think Brian said it takes you about 4 to 5 hours for each one, something like that. So yeah, and Brian had a big part in the meeting and making it really efficient. And so we're able to get everything done in one meeting, which is probably ought to have a standing ovation for ourselves. But anyway, no, very good and great atmosphere. Great thing about this is people are communicating and talking about it. It's on the front page, and that was the idea, so that we really make this a focus this year, and I think that's happening.
Yeah, I think with evaluating the process and everything come negotiation time, it's going to make things a lot smoother and
I
a
think
lot
so,
more
too.
efficient and
Yeah.
a lot more beneficial for everybody.
Mindy, you're up.
Okay, I was going to say, she can get us updates on testing.
On. Okay, so your first, hey, that's me. Russell, are you doing this on purpose? Okay, there's the first bar graph. So last spring, I presented you the same type of bar graph, but it was the actual growth over the year. So it was kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, and how they grew, the growth from September to May. So this is the first, this is what we just did now. This is what the kids just took. So if you notice that the red is frustrational, the kind of mustard is instructional, and the independent is green. So, and that tells you the percentage. So all the red these are kids that need a lot of help. And at the elementary schools, they use this information to put the kids in title groups and extended reading interventions. And if I'm missing anything, Denise, please feel free jumping in. So this is just this is the September report. And all year long, they're gonna work on them growing. They'll do this again in December. So this time I'll be able to give you a September, December, and then the one in May. Okay, so this is where we are. And I have to say that we pretty much have the IRI giving them 3 times a year in the last couple of years under the conditions that we've been under in school, out of school kids, withdraw, enroll, withdraw, enroll. We haven't really had a very good picture, but I think this kind of is a pretty good picture right here. Okay, the next one is the map growth. And these are the benchmarking tests that we did with all students from kindergarten to 12th grade in September. The first graph is math, and I apologize, math is not, it's cut off and so are the grades because it took an act of Congress to clip these out and get these in here. So the very first one is math, and the very first line next to 54 is kindergarten. So what I kind of want you, this is last year, this is from last September to last spring. So what I want you to kind of understand as you look at this report is the students had to test both in the fall and the spring in order to be on this chart. So we don't have we don't have all kids in this, because once again, we had kids in, kids out, kids in, kids out. And we have windows that we have to test in. So if they're not here during the testing window, then we have an issue. Now, we have started working on remote testing. So if the child is home, we actually had a teacher that was home that tested her class from home. So that will become better. But these results, remember, because I think there's like 200 students that are not included in this report when I counted all the numbers. And it's just like they have to, in order to see growth from the beginning of the year to the end, they have to be tested in both windows. But what I want you to pay attention to, which is the easiest part, if you go all the way over to the right, so number of students with growth projections, so that's the number of students that were tested, then those are the number of students that met their growth, and then the percentile. So I think that's the information that would be easiest for you guys to just get a snapshot of where we are. So you have the math is the first graph. Reading and language arts is the second graph. And the reading and language arts, that includes fluency, comprehension, spelling, composition, writing. And then the third graph is language usage. And the kindergarten and first grade, they don't really, I don't think they, well, obviously they don't test them on this test because they have all, they're doing the IRI and other things. But the language usage is just, the rules, grammar, nouns, verbs, sentence structure, all those good things that can make writing good. Anyway, we will do this benchmark. So we did this benchmark already, but I can't give you a report because it's a growth report till we do it in December. Then in December, I can give you a report on what they did in September and what they did till December. Okay? And I also have I have a copy of the three actual, these, would you like them? Because this is the actual.
So Mindy, are there particular areas that we need to be focusing on that you're seeing maybe less growth or not, no growth or?
I can't really compare it because, I mean, like I said, last year, there's just too many kids missing from the pie. Just too many kids that didn't take the test both times to really make we know from the ISS and we know from history that math is math is an area right now. You can look at the math, the first chart, kindergarten to 12th grade. So, and once again, these are not all the students, but if you look, you can see in first grade, 70% met their growth. Third grade, 83, 82, 83. So you can look down and you can see in math there what grades are actually, and actually most of them are doing well.
I think we understand not everybody's going to show growth, certainly different circumstances, but if there's an area where we see, hey, certainly not enough kids had growth, or we're seeing a trend here, then maybe we need to focus on curriculum resources, those kind of things.
Well,
And that
we-
helps us with our continuous improvement plan, which is supposed to be
Just-
evolving.
Yeah, just remember that this is just this. We just started this last year, so we just started this benchmarking. So we need a little bit of time to see the trends, and we need to test most of our kids.
And although we just started the MAPS testing, we've historically already done a lot of IRI testing. So we've done this model before. And so, we've done the model of measuring, reaching out to the kids who are not showing growth, giving them extra resources and those kind of things. And it's worked really well. So that's where I'm just
Oh,
not
yeah.
wanting to wait too long. If we have 2 data points, we should already start having a plan.
Do the kids know when you're going to test them? Well, they do. What if you didn't tell them? You get more kids.
Thanks, Mindy.
Okay, that looks like it concludes our discussion items. So we'll roll into action items. The first one is leadership stipends. We have separate leadership stipend lists presented from the elementary schools, Orofino Junior Senior High School, Timberline, and IDYCA.
So annually, this is from Idaho code that certified personnel we receive as a district $850 per FTE. And we have to pay out a minimum of $900 if we're going to do a stipend. So last year with our leadership, our principals, we decided that we were going to be consistent across the board. So if one school is getting something for a team lead, the other school would be getting the same. So that's how this is all broken up. These are duties above and beyond their regular contract hours. So anything from RTI to tutoring to whatever it might be. There's lots of different things, and we have all these different codes we can go by, and I sent that. You guys have access to that as well. So we have to identify which one those fall under. So this year we implemented a district-wide mentoring program for our new teachers. So those mentors themselves, we decided that it was a very regimented program. It's very structured. So that was a $2,000 stipend for those teachers that are mentoring. And then any team lead was $1,500. And then all the others we decided was going to be a minimum of $1,000. And then there's, basically a contract that goes with this, an agreement that they have to meet the criteria and then follow through in the spring. So these don't get paid out until June. We get paid from the state in June, and these go out in June. So they have to complete their projects or for their stipend. So that's where those come from. And we do this. This is annually that we've been doing this.
Any questions regarding that?
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
So if we could have a motion to approve?
I'm going to move that we approve the leadership stipends as they are described for each school.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the leadership stipends as listed for each school. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the substitute recruitment governor's grant proposal.
Yeah, so this money came available just a very few weeks ago, or very few days ago, it feels like, but it has to be expended by December 15th. The purpose of this was to help entice classified personnel to help us out, whether it be substitutes, whether it's driving, whether it is paras, whether it is child nutrition, custodian, whatever it might be. So classified staff. We met as a leadership team last week or the week before to determine, and we evaluated all of our highest needs that we had in the district. We went through that process and figured out exactly where we were running the shortest throughout, and transportation came up hands down. Since then, I think we've got some substitutes and stuff, which has helped. So I think he wants to give that money back, right? Yeah. So working with Derek in our transportation department, we decided that we were going to break this up a little bit so we can entice people to sign on. So kind of what we came up with, actually, Derek came up with this, and probably Tracy, I would guess. We were looking at salary or doing some stipends for our current bus drivers and our subs based on the hours that they work, some other criteria as well. But so when you take the benefits out of that, we also wanted to set some aside for licensing so we can pay for people as they come in. We can put them through that process and it won't cost them anything. And then a piece for sign-on incentives. So we were looking at approximately almost a $500 sign-on incentive if they can complete their licensing by early December, because we'd like this has to be expended by December 15th. So we're looking at an early December finish. So we are hoping to entice some of the people that are on the fence. If yes, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. We can give them a little sign-on stipend and then pay for their licensing as well. So that's where that came from. And then the remainder of that, we were looking at breaking up and giving to existing drivers. So that's what the leadership team recommended to do with this. Keep in mind, we're supposed to be getting the exact same amount in another week or so for classified staff as well. And we will meet again and determine our needs, but we want to spread that around where we can. Again, that's got to be spent by December 15th. So that deadline's difficult to do. So we're trying, we'd like to have some sign-on bonuses, those type of things we could carry on throughout, but this is kind of a one-time shot. So we'll do where we can and we'll hand it out and appreciate what we got. So questions?
No, just this is the fun part of the job. It's like early Christmas. We get to be Santa. And I'm glad to hear that we're getting another grant soon too.
Derek, did I cover you on that? All right.
All right, we can have a motion.
I move that we accept the substitute recruitment governor's grant recommendation as listed.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the substitute recruitment governor's grant as listed. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, emergency closure of PEC on September 27th.
Yeah, so we had a closure of PEC that week of September 27th. I believe that was a Monday, if I recall. That day was actually utilized by teacher and staff to prepare lessons for the week, online learning for the week. So anytime we're not offering online or any kind of instructional services, it needs to be declared as an emergency closure. So that's why that's on there.
I just move that we approve the emergency closure at PEC 9/27/21.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the emergency closure of PEC on September 27th, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, emergency declaration of foreign language teaching position.
Yes, this one is a hard to fill position. This is due to some certification issues, and we as a board, or you guys as a board, if we declare this an emergency position, that gives us some abilities to do some different certification routes, like alternative authorization, those type of things. So that's why that's on here. The state Department of Education has recommended that we classify that as a hard to fill position, emergency declaration.
Well, I'm going to move that we declare the foreign language teaching position an emergency declaration.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the emergency declaration of foreign language teaching position. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the proposed schedule for bus driver pay.
Yeah, so we've looked at this multiple ways, and Derek will attest that we feel like we need to increase our driver pay. One of the issues with that, if we increase it, so there was the existing and then the proposed, it's about $1 more across the board. We only have budgeted what we have budgeted this year, so it could be a budgeting concern overall. There are some reimbursement, bonuses there. Basically, we can get 50% reimbursed, so it's not a huge sting on us. We just felt like that it was something we're not ready to do at this point in time, but we will be evaluating that and making sure that we're doing something. We're going to gather information from our regional bus transportation services and see how we compare to make sure we have all that stuff in a row. The highlighted part that I have on there is something we would like to do this year. So this is the part that we would like to have. So we'd like to have the sub rate raised to the entry rate, because right now it's about $1 less for our substitutes. So we'd like to make it equivalent as an entry level driver. They have to go through the same training, the same hours, all of that. So equivalent as a first time driver. And then we would like to, anybody who is retired and is coming back to drive for us, we'd like to have them at the rate that they retired at. Because right now they would drop back down to that 14, what is that? I can't remember exactly what it is, 14 something an hour. 1482. Yeah, 1460 something. Yeah, so if we go to 1597, so you might have a driver who retired at, $18 or whatever it might be, 17, and then they come back and drive for 14. We're asking them to come back and sub. So we'd like to honor that and have that happen. So that would be a matter of tracking the individuals as they retired or left. Did I cover all that, Derek? Okay.
I just had a question about the pay suggestion going all the way out as far as it does. Do we have people that have worked that long for they've driven that long? Oh, you do? Wow. How many drivers do you have? Okay. Do you think that a lot of the reason we're not getting people is the pay? Right. Yeah.
And I was just going to say with contracts, I think it's important to probably table the actual pay scale for next year when we readdress
understand.
paycheck or when we readdress contracts. But I think that having that grant will help a lot just to boost everybody's salaries. And it's
Yeah.
nice to have that opportunity to do that.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, it seems like the sub rate coming in at the beginning level, that's a pretty
Mhm.
basic thing that should be done. And then also years experience, they come back in at the rate they were at or the
Mhm.
year that they were at. Which would be,
Well, it would be the year that they were at, and
Yeah.
as that moves forward, that would,
because
they
it's
would,
probably
yeah.
increased. Okay.
Yep. As we do increases, that would increase.
So do we want to take action on that?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to move that subs come in at the beginning rate of 1597 right now. And that returning drivers come in and get paid the same year that they had served before. So they would come in at that rate.
So I will second the motion. Any further discussion? So it's been moved and seconded to increase the substitute bus driver rate to the entry level rate as listed and to maintain a retired bus driver's pay rate at their retirement level.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the trustee rezoning project.
Yeah, so what we need on this is, let me get this pulled up. If I get this, is a recognition that we are out of balance in our zone. So what happens is there's some history on this that every time we receive a census, we are required to go through and make sure that we equalize our zones. And if you look closely down here, the percentages that they are off. And this is based on population. This is not something we do. This is something that the state with the census and also the state requires us to happen. So right now, if you look at the zero, which is zone 1 has 2,309 voters versus the one that's the farthest off is zone 3 has 1,322 voters. So the law requires that we equalize those to within 10%. What we're doing is we're working with ISBA, our School Boards Association. They have an engineering firm that is working with us as well. And we're looking at trying to get these things equalized out, and that's no easy task. Right now, just the preliminary and what I attached to this, it's going to displace over 1,000 voters. And to do that this close to election would be almost impossible. I think it's going to be very difficult to do. I'm working with the engineer and with ISBA to make sure we get this done right. And I just want to make it very clear, it's not something we're doing. It's something that's required by law, and it's something that we have to do to stay within that 10%. So you can see the shift, and this is the existing map. The shift that's going to happen is pretty difficult whenever you start looking at trying to move from, let me get this moved over, from, one zone. If we have to move from zone 4 to zone 2, that you have to cross zone. So it's kind of like a little puzzle game or whatever you want to say to try to shift that and get those populations equalized. So we want to make it as fair as possible. We want to not displace anybody that's in zones. We don't want to make sure that, our candidates are signed up and those type of things, or the zones stay true. So we're working on that the best we can. Hopefully that we don't have to do anything with this until after the election, and then we can rezone. So that is the goal, because that's a lot of messing with it. Yeah. Questions on that? So really what we need is we need to declare that there is a discrepancy, which we can see that on our map right here. That's off. And that was done by ISBA and the engineering firm that with our current. And obviously we would have to get it updated on our site. The registrations would have to, change. It wouldn't change voting places. It would just change what zone you were voting for. But that happens every time there's a census. One of the reasons it's so late, it's typically done in the spring. We didn't receive the census information until I believe it was May or June. Once we do that, well, then that kind of kicks it in motion. Normally it would happen at the first of the year and it would be done way back in June. But since we got the census information, it's it just takes a while to get that ball rolling. So all that was late this time. So all I need right now is just basically a declaration that it needs to be equalized. And we hired a service to do that.
Well, since my zone's way off, I move that we acknowledge that there is a need for trustee rezoning as dictated by the census in the state of Idaho.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that there is a need to do a trustee rezoning required by the state of Idaho. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Policy recommendations for 5340.
That was just the one little sentence at the end, correct?
Yeah, so this is our policy 5340, and this has to do with teacher evaluation. This kind of came out of the leadership meeting as well, the principals, and then the committee meeting as well. So I get clear down to the bottom of this. This highlighted area is what was added. So one of the concerns was if you're not meeting the criteria, when do you get notified? So we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So if somebody's on probation, we're going to follow policy 5105 and they will be communicated prior to the summative evaluation. So, and that describes it in 5105. And that's what a lot of the policies do, refer back to the ones that are already written. There's no use reinventing the wheel. So I think that covers it. I think our leadership was comfortable with that, with the principals were comfortable with that. I believe the committee as well.
I've got one question about that. On page 5 of this policy, there's something in there about 7 days to rebut. Remember that? Did we change it to 10? Is that different? Okay.
So the 10 days that you're referring to are when you sit down with a teacher after a formative. We said we make our best effort to sit down with them for the 10 days. The 7 days is a rebuttal on an actual ranking in a summative evaluation. So if somebody receives ranking they didn't feel was fair in the evaluative process, they have 7 days to file a formal rebuttal of that specific ranking in the Danielson framework. Right. So those are two separate things. The 10 days we were talking about was to get back in with the teacher after you've done their observation. Yep.
I move that we take the policy recommendation of policy 5340 to include the unsatisfactory performance will be communicated prior to the summative evaluation as referred to in policy 5105.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the policy changes of 5340 as listed for certified employee being considered for probation with unsatisfactory performance will be communicated prior to the summative evaluation, refer to policy 5105. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is new hires and separations. Opposed? Motion carries. we do have an executive session tonight. And so there are no further action items on the agenda. So we will not be making any votes after the executive session. For that reason, if you do not need to stay around or do not desire to stay around, you are welcome to unofficially adjourn at this time. The meeting is still going to be in session and we will have a screen up for when we are done. We will adjourn the meeting after our executive session. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hi, and we have to take a roll call. Jessica still around?
Jessica, need a roll call.
And I assume Chris never did join us online. Okay.
Jessica, are you on there? You want me to take roll call to
Mhm.
sub in for her?
Mhm.
I'll take roll call.
Please.
Okay. You ready?
Mhm.
Trustee Drew,
Here.
trustee Herbst,
Here.
trustee Robinson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move into executive session.
We're gonna go to the library real quick so it's not echoing all over.
session at, I don't know what time it is, 8:08,
8:08.
and we'll adjourn well, do the board members have any future agenda items for next month?
No.
Okay, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.